I can't breathe until you're resting here with me, and I won't go.
Have you ever heard of a love story that's gone so wrong and bizarre that sometimes you've wondered to yourself if you're better off single? If you're looking for the perfect example of Crazy Ex, here it is. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at the case of Jodi Arias and her victim Travis Alexander. So grab a coffee and enjoy. Let's investigate. We begin our story in 2008 with charismatic salesman Travis Alexander. Travis was born in Riverside, California on July 28, 1977. After his father died in 1997, he moved into his grandmother's house with his 7 siblings. And around this time, he was introduced to the Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ and became a Mormon. Moving into his 30s, he became a salesman and motivational speaker for Prepaid Legal, a multi-level marketing company based in Mesa, Arizona. Jodi Arias was a small city girl born in Salinas, California on July 9th, 1980. There was nothing special about her childhood, but after 11th grade she dipped out of college to follow her dream in photography. This didn't quite go to plan for the ambitious blonde, however, and her dreams eventually faded. In February 2006, she started a new job as a salesperson at Prepaid Legal. It was through this company that the two crossed paths, and in September 2006, on a business conference to Las Vegas, Nevada, Jodi met Travis. The two instantly hit it off, and Jodi became love-struck with Travis. Following their encounter, the two spoke on the phone every day. They started exchanging thousands of emails, a total of over 80,000 in 5 months. Travis was a Mormon, so it meant that he could only date others in his faith. Jodi, she acknowledged this rule, so she converted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and was baptized by Travis in November 2006. After that, Travis and Jodi officially began dating in February 2007. The two seemed to be happy while the relationship lasted. But after only 5 months, Travis cut the relationship with her. Jodi still loved Travis, but he no longer felt the same. The two ended their romantic affairs in June of 2007. And it was only after they broke up, however, that Jodi then moved to Mesa, Arizona to be closer to Travis. Their friendship then became more complex. Although they weren't romantically together, they were still sexually active. They had a no-strings-attached kind of relationship. Modern Mormons, who would have known? Throughout the next year, they carried on their sexual relationship, but this did come with a long list of inconvenience for the two. Jodi would sometimes show up in the middle of the night, unannounced, and Travis would show interest in other women, which of course made Jodi jealous. The two would constantly argue with one another on what they wanted from each other. They still did travel together for holidays and business trips, but Travis would keep that quiet from his friends. And it was around this time frame that Travis's friends would label Jodi as his crazy stalker ex. His friends also made it clear to him that his relationship with Jodi was not a healthy one. He often told them that she was obsessed with him, and he believed she was responsible for slashing his car's tires at one point and hacking into his Facebook account. Jodi, on the other hand, acted oblivious. She would write entries in her diary describing how she believed that her and Travis were meant to be together forever. In April 2008, Jodi moved back to California to live with her grandparents, but she was still emotionally invested in Travis. Fast forward, and the date is now June 4th, 2008. Travis had missed a conference call that morning, and he wasn't returning any calls or messages to his friends or colleagues. As the time went by, they were still unable to reach him. Their suspicion and worries grew over the following days, so friends finally went to his home address 5 days later on June 9th. Travis's roommate was there when they arrived, but he believed that Travis was out of town. His bedroom door had been locked for a few days. They eventually found a key, so they unlocked the door to his room and entered. What they would find would be a very gruesome scene. They were met with large pools of blood in the hallway, leading to Travis's bathroom. In the bathroom, they would find Travis Alexander's body. in the shower. He had been stabbed a total of 27 times, shot in the head with a .25 caliber bullet, and his throat had been lacerated, severing his trachea, jugular vein, and common carotid artery. Travis's friends, they were mortified, so they ran out of his room and called the police.
What's going on?
A friend of ours is dead in his bedroom. We hadn't heard from him for a while. We think he's dead. His roommate just went in there and said there's lots of blood. I didn't go in, but I can give you the phone to someone who went in there.
Yes, please, can you?
Hello.
Hi, so what's going on?
He's dead. He's in his bedroom.
Okay.
In the shower.
Okay, how did this happen? Do you have any idea?
No, we have no idea. Everyone's been wondering about him for a few days.
She said that there was blood. So is it coming from his head? Did he cut his wrist?
It's all over the place.
Has he been threatened by anyone recently?
Yes, he has. Okay. He has an ex-girlfriend that's been bothering him and following him and slashing tires and things like that.
And do you know the ex-girlfriend's name?
Her name is Jodi.
And everyone is out of the house. There's no one else in the house.
No one's in the house.
His roommate went in. There's blood in his bedroom, behind the door, and then he said it's all over. And then they went in the bathroom, and he's in his shower. She's talking to his friend right now. There's a girl that's been stalking him, and he's trying to. You might know some information.
In the call to 911, Travis's friends were asked if they had any idea or suspicion who could have done this to him. They almost immediately brought up Jodi Arias' name. So the police, they contacted Jodi later that day. She sounded devastated, but told police that she hadn't seen Travis since April earlier that year. But when detectives started to look at Jodi as a potential suspect, things got really interesting really quick. Detectives learned that on June the 2nd, Jodi rented a car from Redding, California, just 100 miles south from where her and her grandparents lived. Several days before this date, she also contacted her ex-boyfriend, Daryl Brewer, to ask if she could borrow 2 5-gallon canisters of gas. Receipts discovered from a shop local to Jodi also showed that she purchased a third 5-gallon gas canister on June the 3rd. Later that evening, Jodi purchased 8 gallons of gasoline with her MasterCard at an Arco station in Pasadena, California, and 4 minutes later, she purchased another 9 gallons of gasoline with cash. Well, that's interesting. Back at the crime scene and following Travis's death, his digital camera was found downstairs, damaged in the washing machine. Travis had only recently bought this camera, so it was odd that someone had attempted to destroy it. Although images were deleted from the camera, Mesa police were still able to recover them. What they recovered were saucy images of Jodi and Travis in sexually suggestive poses. The date stamp for these images were at approximately 1:40 p.m. The last photo of Travis Alexander alive was taken in the shower at approximately 5:29 p.m. But only moments later, the next images accidentally taken on Travis's camera, would show him heavily bleeding on the floor. The shoes of the potential assailant was also captured in front of his body. This would later be confirmed to match Jodi's shoe, and was accidentally taken when Jodi kicked the camera across the bathroom floor. It was during this moment that Travis was surely receiving 27 knife wounds, a bullet, and a laceration. After the murder, Travis's killer attempted to clean the crime scene to try and remove any incriminating evidence. They did this by wiping down the floor, surfaces, and then Travis's bludgeoned body. However, the killer done goofed and forgot to clean up a bloody handprint on the wall. DNA would later reveal that the handprint consisted of both Travis's and Jodi's DNA. So at this point they were now pretty sure that the killer was Jodi Arias. After murdering Travis and partially cleaning the crime scene, Jodi then drove out of Mesa, Arizona into the desert towards Utah. She was going there to create an alibi for the time to meet her new boyfriend, Ryan Burns. When Jodi arrived in Utah, both Ryan and friends of Ryan that Jodi met noticed that she wore bandages on her hands. She was also wearing long-sleeve shirts on days that were very hot. They also recognized that she dyed her hair brown, a change from her previous blonde color. She told Ryan that the cuts on her hands was from her job as a pizza chef at Margaritaville back at home. Odd though, when Ryan tried to search for this place on Google, no results came up. Siskiyou authorities would also confirm that a restaurant with that name has never existed in that state before. Later that same day, in West Jordan, Utah, a police officer would then pull over Jodi Arias from the rented vehicle that she was driving. Her front license plate for the car was missing, and the rear license plate was turned upside down. Jodi, with her demeanour, would play the situation down to the police officer. She claimed that she believed that some kids at a Starbucks car park that she'd visited earlier that day were to blame for the joke. After her short affair in Utah, Jodi drove back to California and handed her rented car back in on June the 7th, 2008. She was, however, presented with a hefty fine because Jodi, when she picked the car up a few days earlier, had said that she'd only be driving the car locally. But after the car was returned, she'd racked up over 2,800 miles in the vehicle. Along with the excess mileage, the car was missing all of its floor mats, and both the front and rear seats were now stained with what she claimed to be Kool-Aid. I'm trying to imagine this one. What did you do, Jodi? Did you throw Kool-Aid around the car? The car, however, was unfortunately deep cleaned before police were able to examine it. Following Travis's death, Jodi reached out to police to offer in any way that she could. She accepted a request from Arizona Police Department to give a sample of her DNA. This sample of DNA is how they would match the DNA to the handprint found at the crime scene. And Siskiyou County Police Department back in California were having their own fun with investigations on Jodi Arias. You see, several days before, on May the 28th, Jodi's grandparents reported to the police a burglary, in which Jodi was living at that place at the time too. Multiple objects were taken in the heist, but most notably a .25 caliber pistol was missing. Jodi's grandparents' pistol was never recovered, but a spent .25 caliber pistol round was found at the crime scene next to Travis's body. The bullet found by the body would match the specifications of the pistol that went missing back in California. Based on the evidence found by law enforcement, Jodi was indicted by a grand jury on a first-degree murder charge on July the 9th, 2008. She was arrested at her grandparents' home on July the 15th in California. Jodi, surprisingly, still maintained her innocence, but during her initial interview, interrogators started applying a lot of pressure on Jodi and her story. Jodi, unaware of all the evidence building up against her, still claimed that she never travelled to visit Travis on the week that he got murdered. Detectives pointed out to Jodi that despite this, it still left her with over 18 hours of unaccounted time.
I mean, I don't know where Phoenix is in Mesa. It's got to be over here.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere near there.
I have a problem with this trip.
Well, I went first too.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know you went down here.
Okay.
I've gone over this trip over and over in my mind and on paper. There's still 20 some odd hours, even if you pulled over to sleep a couple of times. If you slept for 10 hours
I only slept for about
here
8
and
hours.
here, it would still leave 18 some odd hours.
I did not go near his house. Aren't there?
I pulled your cell records. Do I believe that you had come to visit Travis? Yes. I truly believe it.
Jodi played dumb. She pretended to be confused at the interrogator's questions and unable to sufficiently answer them. This eventually pissed the detective off though, because he changed his strategy and confronted her about the camera's photographic evidence collected back at the crime scene.
Were you at Travis's house on Wednesday?
Absolutely not.
What if I could show you proof you were there? There's pictures. I know you know there's pictures, because I have them.
Are you sure it's me? I mean, that because I was
Jodi,
not there.
It's you. I know you took pictures of him in the shower, and the camera actually took a couple of photos by accident during the time that he was being killed.
Really?
Yeah, Jodi, really. You were there.
Jodi continued to play totally clueless throughout the entire interview.
Remember him?
Is he naked?
She seemed to believe that if she assumed the role of dumb, clumsy and friendly, she would be able to convince all detectives around her that she had no part in Travis's murder. Did you know that she also pretended to be asleep in the interviews to try and trick the detectives into thinking she was calm enough while being interrogated? The detective's strategies in the 2 interrogations were remarkable. He eventually tricked Jodi into admitting that she was with Travis by the shower at the time that he was murdered. And you can actually see the moment that Jodi realizes she's goofed up.
He was very private about the shower.
Is that why you were taking pictures of him in the shower?
No. No.
Trying to get back at him?
No.
From here, Jodi changes her accounts of the story. Now, she tells police that 2 masked intruders broke into Travis's property and murdered him before attacking her. They then threatened her and told her that if she contacted police or told anyone about this, they would not only come for her but also her family. After Jodi's initial interrogations, she lawyers up. They must have had a heart-to-heart with the last though, as eventually she changes her story yet again to claim that although she did kill Travis herself, it was in self-defense. Cool tricks, bro. To add to her ditzy story, before trial began, she drops her defense team to represent herself. And shortly after this, she submits letters to the court that she claims Travis had written. These letters were found to be forgeries, and in this oh shit moment, she realised that her story wasn't going to work, so she reinstated her defense team back to her side. What a piece of work. Jodi's trial commenced on December the 12th, 2012. In opening arguments, prosecutor Juan Martinez sought the death penalty. Jodi was represented by appointed counsel Jennifer Wilmot, who argued that Travis's death was a justifiable homicide committed in self-defense. The trial went on for 5 months, and Jodi's 18-day testimony certainly helped that duration. During her stand, Jodi still claimed that Travis was in secret sexually attracted to young boys and girls, and that she tried to help him with these urges. She also claimed that he was emotionally and physically abusive and body slammed her to the ground before kicking her in the ribs on the day that he was murdered. According to her events, Jodi was forced to take sexy images of Travis in the shower, but when she accidentally dropped the camera, Travis became enraged. Ultimately, she feared for her life and she acted purely in self-defense. But on May the 8th, after 15 hours of careful deliberation, Jodi Arias was found guilty of first-degree murder.
Verdict, count 1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn, in the above entitled action, upon our oaths, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty. 5 jurors find premeditated, 0 find felony murder, 7 find both premeditated and felony. Signed, 4-person. Is this your true verdict, so say you want it all?
As the guilty verdict was read, Jodi struggled to repress her tears as Travis's family hugged one another. Several people who gathered outside of the courtroom could be heard cheering. But as the sentencing period began in 2013, the jury was unable to reach a unanimous decision on the death penalty. This also happened again in 2014. However, third time lucky, on April the 15th, 2015, Jodi was formally sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. She is now serving her life sentence in Arizona's Department of Corrections at maximum level security. And that's the story of Travis Alexander and his crazy ex-girlfriend. Wow, what a way to be found by your friends. And all over a love affair that Jodi should have just walked away from. What a crazy bitch. Thank you so much for watching my video today. If you enjoyed this case, I'll do more like this one, so please hang around by subscribing and liking the video. What do you think of Jodi Arias? Why do you think she snapped? And what are your thoughts on the case? Please let me know below, and I'll try and get back to you. Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of each other. Goodbye.